The static keyword in Java is used to create variables and methods that belong to the class itself. Static variables and methods can be accessed without creating an instance of the class. They are stored in the class's memory area and are commonly used for constants, utility functions, and static blocks. Static variables and methods can be accessed from both static and non-static methods. In this example, we have a class called myClass. It has a static variable called myStatic variable, which is set to 10. It also has a non-static variable called myNonStatic variable, which is set to 20. The class has a static method called myStatic method, which prints out a message. It also has a non-static method called myNonStatic method, which also prints out a message. In the main method, we can access the static variable and method directly using the class name. We can also access the non-static variable and method using an instance of the class. Static variables and methods belong to the class itself and can be accessed without creating an object of the class. They are shared among all instances of the class. Let's look at an example. In this code snippet, we have a class named myClass. It has a static variable called count and a static method called increaseCount. We can access the increaseCount method directly using the class name. In the main method, we call the increaseCount method and then print the value of the count variable. Since the count variable is static, it is shared among all instances of the class. The static block in Java is a block of code that is executed when the class is loaded into memory. It is used to initialize the static variables of the class or perform any necessary setup operations before the class can be used. Unlike the normal instance blocks, the static block is executed only once during the initialization of the class. It is executed before the constructor of the class is invoked. The static block is particularly useful when we need to perform some initialization tasks that are common to all objects of the class, such as loading configuration files or initializing static variables. The static block can contain any valid Java code, including variable declarations, method calls, and control flow statements. It is important to note that the order of execution of static blocks is determined by their placement in the source code. Static blocks are executed in the order in which they appear. In the above code snippet, we have a class named myClass. Inside the class, we have a static block declared using the static keyword followed by a block of code enclosed in curly braces. This static block will be executed when the class is loaded into memory. The main method is also present in the class, which is the entry point of the program. A static nested class is a nested class that is defined as static. It can access static members of the outer class, including private members. Static nested classes are not tied to an instance of the outer class, so they can be instantiated without an instance of the outer class. They are typically used to group classes that are only used by the outer class, and to improve code organization and encapsulation. They can also provide a higher level of visibility for the nested class, as they can be accessed by other classes even if they are not part of the outer class. In this example, we have a static nested class named nested_class defined inside the outer class. The nested class has a method named nested_method, which prints static nested class method to the console. In the main method of the outer class, we create an instance of the nested class and call its nested method. When we run the program, it will output static nested class method. In this demonstration, we will learn how to use static imports in Java. Static imports allow us to access static members of a class directly. We can import specific members or even specific methods from a class and use them without needing to reference the class name. Let's see how it works. Now let's see an example of static imports in action. In this code snippet, we import the static members of the math class, including the static max method. We then use this method to find the maximum value of two integers and print it to the console.